I just, that whole year I was on it, I didn't progress. And then by the end of it, my doctor that examined me, my neurologist, said he thought I was stronger. I can say for sure, I mean, I'm 99% sure I got it, probably 100%, because I didn't progress at all, and then actually felt a little bit stronger. And I think maybe that's what's kept me from progressing faster now. And I was in touch with a gentleman from Canada doing the trial at the exact same time as me, and he's already passed away.
Yeah.
And he's positive he didn't get it.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Henson with No More Excuses and ALS News Now. It's been a little while since my last interview with a NurOwn Phase 3 trial participant, but we've found another one. So many of you are aware that ALS has been called the untreatable disease, that there's no hope or no options. Over the last 3 years now, or 2.5 roughly, I've interviewed almost 13 people. I think this will make actually 14 that came from this trial and had, or believed that they had, a result. Since the trial is still blinded as the company struggles with the FDA to find next steps and to figure out what happens next, we don't know for sure if these patients really did get NurOwn or not. However, one thing we do know is that stories like what you're going to hear today are rare in ALS. And the fact that they happened within a group of only 95 or so possible people who were in the treated arm of this trial makes it even more rare, if you will, or more unlikely to just be random luck. We know now, and we've seen people in the expanded access program of this drug having phenomenal results. Their results are not under dispute any longer. And yet the FDA continues to withhold this drug from patients, with many in the ALS community blaming it on the company, saying that the company has to make the first move. Recently, the FDA reversed itself on the drug AMX 35. After that drug produced a positive result in the trial, a very small, modest result to say the least, but the FDA invited the company to apply for approval, just as the FDA invited Mitsubishi Pharma to apply for the approval of Radicava, and did so and approved it with no U.S. trials and a very small subset of patients. So we know that what patients ask for can be done and should be done. Hopefully with a new FDA director inbound soon, ALS patients will get their wish. That wish you're about to see in the form of a wonderful lady from Iowa named Lesley Ann Krummel, the 14th ALS patient in the NurOwn Phase 3 trial that I have interviewed who believes that NurOwn stopped or stabilized their progression. You be the judge. I urge you to watch all of our videos and to follow us at No More Excuses, ALS Watchdogs. Thanks. And Lesley, it's great to have you with us here on ALS News Now and No More Excuses. Thank you so much for telling your story today. And how are things going? You're in Iowa, so how are things up there right now?
Thank you for having me. It's really cold right now and snowing.
Thanks again for doing this. And start by telling us a little bit, if you don't mind, about your ALS journey.
I was diagnosed in May of 2018.
How did you first hear about the trial, and how long did all the enrollment process take, and when did you start first? I guess hearing about the trial, and then when did you start the trial, if you don't mind?
I'm pretty sure I found it on clinicaltrials.gov.
Right.
And I tried to get into the site at Minnesota. What is that hospital?
Mayo. So that'd be a lot closer
Mayo,
for you. Sure. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I was trying to get into that one, and they never would call me back. So I ended up calling Cedars-Sinai in LA.
Wow.
And what happened was I went there first for a different trial and didn't get accepted. And then they said I would be a good match for Brainstorm. And so then I got tested for that. So I ended up flying to Los Angeles every month for a year.
The level of commitment that ALS trials take is just absolutely astonishing, including people in this trial. Some people flew all the way literally from coast to coast, from the East Coast all the way to Cedars as well. So it's amazing what kind of commitment this takes. Do you remember approximately when you started in the trial? Do you remember when you went for your initial visit?
The fall of 2018, I went out.
Okay.
When I started, I think it was October.
Now, tell us just a little bit then, as some people may know about the trial, you go for an initial screening visit, which unfortunately many people did not get accepted into this trial. It took 200 people total. I think a few people, as in any trial, back out, and then so you're left. I think the total number was around 190 that the data contains, if I'm not mistaken. But the idea was to get 100 placebo and 100 in the treated group, and they were able to do that. We all have our suspicions. I was in the trial as well. Full disclosure, we all have our suspicions about what group we were in. How did the bone marrow aspiration go for you? And just tell us, if you don't mind, chat a little bit about the time between the bone marrow aspiration and that first visit. Did everything go pretty well?
Yeah, mine went really well. I don't know. I didn't have any problems, I guess.
Okay. No severe pain. As far as a lot of people do have some pain. It's not a terrible procedure. And that's the thing I want to be clear about. The bone marrow aspiration is not a terribly invasive procedure. They do put you out for it. I've heard some people say that they were put under full general anesthetic, and some were done under local. Do you remember, did they put you all the way out, or were you under local? Or
I was out. I was out.
By this time, you'd already have an initial lumbar puncture done, because they have to take your CSF to monitor. They want to monitor those 3 key biomarkers. Well, there's probably more, and that's the thing. We're waiting on the full data release, and the peer review data. But they're kind of watching those 3 key biomarkers: neuroinflammation, neurodegeneration, and trophic factors, to see how those change throughout the trial. And the news was good on those. Tell us a little bit about, if you don't mind, your first injection. You go all the way to Cedars. Talk us through that your first actual treatment.
Well, I went out, and you're just in the doctor's office. They had me sitting on the examining table. They give you a pillow, and I think I put my feet up, and you just kind of hunch your back over and numb me up a little bit, and did the spinal tap. And I honestly, it wasn't bad at all for me.
Okay. Did you have any reaction afterwards? Did you have any pain kind of in your lower body or anything? Tell us a little bit about that.
Nope. I didn't have any pain. I didn't have any headaches.
Okay.
Actually, one time after, I think it was probably the 3rd treatment, we went to a park. I can't think what it's called now, with rides and stuff.
I'm assuming all the injections went approximately the same. And there's no reason to talk about the time points where you had to go back to, get each lumbar puncture. But overall, did you start to notice something during that time period? And when would you say that you began to notice something? And how was your progression before you were in the trial? I totally forgot to ask that question.
I was not a fast progressor. They kept telling me I was a slow progressor. I could walk. I just couldn't. I couldn't jump. I couldn't run.
Okay.
I was tripping a lot, but I was still walking on my own. But after, even after the first injection, I was like kind of trying to walk faster and kind of run a little bit, and I could.
Okay.
Then that whole year I was on it, I didn't progress. And then by the end of it, my doctor that examined me, my neurologist, said he thought I was stronger.
That's amazing. So you ended the trial in approximately October of 19. And Can you still walk today? Are you still walking? And are you still, fairly mobile? You look good. So what level of?
I am able to move around, but I can't walk without a walker.
Okay. But that's been
And
over. Let's see, the trial ended in fall of 19. So that's been now 2 years since
yeah,
really you've been out of the trial.
right.
Did you begin to notice progression again after the trial ended? After you got out of the trial, is that kind of when
Yeah.
progression started up again?
I started having a lot of falls. My balance is horrible. My core strength is gone. So I think that's a lot of my balance problem.
Yeah.
But mainly it started in my right leg, and that's kind of, where it got worse faster. But now
Okay.
it's affecting both legs, and my arms are weaker. My hands, I've noticed, are getting weaker.
Okay.
So yeah, I've had broken ribs and broken wrists and
Oh my gosh. That's
horrible
terrible.
falls.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we do have those, unfortunately, in ALS.
Yep.
That's a really interesting story because, as with so many, well, now we've seen others that claim they've had a slowdown or halting of progression in while they were in the trial. Janet Woodcock, actually, the interim chief of the FDA, at least for another month or two, said at one point that patients are the experts in rare diseases.
And really, in rare diseases, chronic diseases, patients are really the biggest experts in their own disease.
We know our own bodies. You know your body. I know my body day to day, what progression is happening. Do you think there's any question at this point that NurOwn had an effect on your body, a positive effect? Or are you kind of vague on that?
I can say for sure. I mean, I'm 99% sure I got it, probably 100%, because I didn't progress at all and then actually felt a little bit stronger. And I think maybe that's what's kept me from progressing faster now, possibly. So, and I was in touch with a gentleman from Canada doing the trial at the exact same time as me, and he's already passed away.
Yeah.
And he's positive he didn't get it. He was
Wow.
positive he wasn't getting it.
I think
Yeah.
a lot of patients do have an idea, and this is where the FDA has really gone wrong here. They don't talk to us. They haven't asked us.
But a primary focus of all the work we do, but especially in the rare disease space, is to engage patients. Patients are the most important assets to finding solutions. Their voices, experience, and understanding must be integrated into all phases of medical product development.
The ALSFR score is questionable. We know that.
Yeah.
World famous doctors from MIT, Dr. Frankel, has said that a lot of these drugs seem to be failing when in fact they probably shouldn't have failed.
Here are some results from a real clinical trial that was judged to have failed. It was called ceftriaxone. And we can see that several of the patients, 68 different patients shown here, match patterns that we've detected in other databases of disease, ALS and PROACT. In some cases, the standard modeling would overestimate the patient's decline, and in other cases, it would underestimate their decline.
Now we've seen Biogen's SOD1 drug now be called a failure. We've seen NurOwn be called a failure. Now we've seen other promising new therapies. One was recently just stopped mid-trial, clean nanotechnology, called a failure, when we know that a subset of patients had results in each of these trials clearly.
Right.
And so, do you have an opinion on this issue, and what do you think the FDA should do to start grading these ALS trials differently? Did the FDA ever call you and ask you, hey, do you think you're getting better, or do you stable?
No. It irritates me that they think it has to help more than what 35% is what they're saying it helps, and it's like
roughly, yes, that's
35%
right.
is a lot of people.
Sure
And
is.
we have every right to decide if we want to take that drug or not. And I think, ALS is different for everybody, and I think drugs are different for everybody. So yeah, they need to talk to us.
Absolutely.
Find out what we're doing.
I could not agree with you more. Soon, a new FDA director will be sworn in. It's going to be Robert Carliff, the former FDA director who actually oversaw the approval of Radicava, which many ALS patients will hear about or know about. And they used a phase 4 post-marketing trial to approve Radicava, which basically is exactly what we asked as patients for for the FDA to do with NurOwn. And what that means very simply is that they approved the drug kind of on a conditional basis with stipulations that the trial has to be monitored, or excuse me, that the drug is monitored post-approval to find out if it, number one, is working, and number two, is safe. And there's no reason that the FDA could not do that. In fact, it just reversed itself for AMX35. As you may have heard, AMX35 is a drug that extends life by a few months, but certainly, I haven't heard anybody on AMX35 that has claimed the results that we've seen from NurOwn now, unquestionably, especially in the expanded access program.
Right.
You are now at my 13th or 14th interview with people with NurOwn from the NurOwn trial who seem to have this result where they stabilize and some do even improve. It's rare, but they do. And I can't tell you how exciting this is because most of the improvements thus far seem to have been in men. And so I'm thrilled to hear that you had a good result. And here's the thing. There's unquestionably more out there. I certainly haven't interviewed every one of those 90 or 95 patients for sure that got the real drug. And like you said earlier, if it's 35%, that's a huge number for this disease, massive number, especially if we start doing this for every newly diagnosed patient. And here's why. Here's one of the things I think, and you may have some thoughts on this, but we see that that NurOwn seems to work better earlier in the disease, but there have been patients like Matt Bellina who responded well with more treatments, right? So we're just putting 3 doses of this into people, and because it's not working in every patient, the FDA has called it a failure. This is one of the biggest tragedies, I think, for any terminal illness of all time, that they're grading these drugs like this. And I think you're living proof of that, more living proof of that. I hope and I pray that that Director Karloff, when he comes in, will see this video and see others and realize that he can affect the trajectory of ALS right now. Do you have a message, if you could? Let's assume for a moment that he was listening to you right now. Do you have a message for the incoming FDA director?
Well, I would say that NurOwn definitely helped me, and I think I have every right to continue with it. I have 10 little grandbabies and a great-grandchild, and I want to be around for them. And I think I have every right to try a drug if I
Absolutely, you do.
think it could help.
Absolutely do. And when I think about all the people in this trial, and I don't know if you remember this, how much you watch the news. I'm kind of a news junkie, but you know, a few weeks ago, the FDA took some fire for using beagles, dogs, in an experiment for COVID, I believe it was, and they were treating those dogs terribly. And the United States absolutely exploded with rage, rightly so. It's a terrible way to treat dogs. What blows my mind is I see nothing of the sort for ALS, for people who participated in this trial, like your friend or acquaintance that passed away, who made 12 or 14 trips to a foreign country through dirty airports, many times through a COVID pandemic. And they were treated worse than those 10 beagles or those dogs in that experiment. I think that says absolutely all you need to know, or anybody should know, about this ALS disease and the way that the FDA treats us as people, as human beings. And I don't know, that's more of a soapbox statement, and I don't mean to do that. I know your time is precious. Do you have anything else that you'd like to say about this drug or about other drugs or ALS in general? A lot of people will see this. So by all means, the floor is yours if you'd like to say anything.
Well, gosh, ALS
question.
is a horrible, horrible disease. And I think that we are so close to getting some treatment, and we just need to move forward with them and save some people's lives, help us live our life, as long as possible.
We need these journals to get off their butts and get this data out here, because I have absolutely no question. We already know to some extent that the biomarker data from this drug will be groundbreaking. We already know that the biomarker data from this drug is better than any other drug ever seen for ALS, including Biogen's tofersen, which people praised, and rightly so. I believe there are people I've interviewed that I haven't released yet and will be coming out soon that also claim that they got a result.
Another thing.
Go ahead, sure.
Another thing that irritates. Another thing is those trials. How you can't, after you've had symptoms for 2 years, you're done.
Yeah.
You can't do any trials, and that's just that's infuriating too.
You're so right.
You know, whether it's by your progression or other markers. You know,
right. And once you've done a trial, as you know, that also DQs you from other trials. So in most cases, especially with any sort of cell therapy.
Yep.
So, okay. Well, thank you so much for talking to us today. And I look forward to continuing to speak with you and monitor your progress. So thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All
Thanks
right.
for all you're doing.
No problem.
Okay.
Thank you so much.